this multiculturalism now, where will it stop, and where will it stop in education, do you think? Because it's becoming quite, it's starting to impact quite seriously already, isn't it?
So, when I was at school in the 70s, most of my friends were Asian, Pakistani descent. And I remember thinking at the time that, I know you got to go to a mosque, but I reckon by the time you're an adult with your kids, you'd have stopped going to mosque. Just like what happened to the Christian community. Forced to church, and when they got older, no one's going to church now. I thought that would all die out with the Muslim community in the 70s.
Yeah.
But because of mass immigration, more and more and more coming over, it hasn't died out. What we need to understand about the radical Islamists is they saw what the far leftists did with identity politics. And they saw all these tactics and went, we could use all them. So the Islamists culturally appropriated the far left's tactics on identity politics and create themselves as a race. They then saw the power that...
although they weren't a race, they were simply a religion.
A religion, yeah. But then they saw the issues we tied out, the knots we tied ourselves in around black people and racism. So they wanted a piece of that as well. Hence we got, you're not allowed to say the word Paki anymore. The word Paki is what they called themselves when they came over here. Because they come from Pakistan. Pakistan means land of the Pakis. That's what they are. That's what they called themselves. But they wanted an N-word themselves. So they made that to become an N-word. Then someone invented the term Islamophobia, to replace the word racism. So they started stealing all those things to get power. And then talking about education per se and culture, there's two things happened here. Well, the first thing is we lost our nerve and we turned into cowards, and we didn't challenge people on their cultural failings. And what these individuals in this community need to understand is we have religious schools in the world. We have religious teachings in the world around Islam, and every single one of those countries is a failing country. So again, we've allowed people to come to the country and they want to change our education system, which is crap at the moment now anyway, but used to be better. But they want the same system they have at home, which is the failed state they've escaped from, to come here. And we need to say to them, no, that's wrong. You can have that, go to Pakistan, and that's what you'll end up with. But we don't want that here. But no one's brave enough to do it. And part of that I can understand, because Islam now it's a terrorist organisation to a certain extent. You upset the Islamists, you're a fatwa, you get a fatwa put on your head, you get bombed.
Well, I've actually written down Salman Rushdie here. Yeah, Salman Rushdie, what happened to him, apart from the fact he got stabbed recently, but the fatwa itself, I think that was around the point that this all started.
Yes, it was.
And I think, because up to that point, I don't think anything like that was really an issue.
No.
I don't think there was Muslim identity politics. I don't think it was. It had. When I was at school, I went to school in Leeds, Hare Hills. Any listeners who are from that area will know that's a very rough, multicultural, multi-race society. But there was none of this Islamic stuff happening then in the 60s. I can guarantee it. We didn't even know about it. There was no. I went to a multicultural school, secular school, multicultural, Indians, Muslims, Christians, and we all had to go to say our prayers in the morning and go to church and things like that. There was no even discussion about Muslims doing their prayers in the school and things like that. Then Rushdie happened. Yeah. When did Rushdie? Was it the 80s that Rushdie happened?
Was it early 90s? I think.
Yeah, it might have
been. Somewhere.
And I think then we started to realise actually there's a movement here, isn't there? There's something.
It was already here, and lots of people knew about it. So, in the 70s and 80s, this country started to allow radical Islamists from across the world to move here. Why? It was the Cold War, and we wanted them to help us fight the countries we were trying to fight. So we allowed people from the Middle East and stuff to come here, who were then mounting campaigns against their home countries' regimes, and we found all that beneficial at the time. Cold War going on, and what these individuals did was they started radicalising the local populations, more immigration coming in, and all of a sudden we turned around and went, Look at the mess we've made, especially London. Look at the mess we've got here now. We've got radical jihadists now living in our cities.
Yeah.
They've not turned on us yet, but they will. And then the Salman Rushdie thing happened, and that should have been the point where the government and society said, no, we're not having this. But they got the opposite. We had British politicians, MPs on TV going, Salman Rushdie disgraced Islam, and if I met him, I'd take him down an entry and teach him some manners. It's like,
I remember that. I was quite shocked.
Yeah, the radical Islamists then saw that cowardice and went, we're back for the taking now.
Yeah.
And every year we added more and more and more Islamists into the country through mass migration.
Yeah.
And we roll on now 30, 40 years. Hence why you've got hundreds of thousands of Islamists marching on the streets for free Palestine. It's a show of force. They don't care about Palestine.
No,
it's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
They're saying, we're here and we want some special rights, and you better start paying attention to us. You know, they are going down that path of revolution, being spurred on by the communists, the socialist worker, lunatics, Antifa. They're all together because you all want the same thing at the moment, which is a revolution. Once we get the revolution, most of these people will execute each other, and there won't be many of those original people left, and then we'll be a communist state.
And is that a real possibility, do you think, a revolution in this country?
No. We don't do revolutions. Things take time to change in this country. And that's why I say to people who want immediate change, if you can change this country overnight, it would be a basket case.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying it's perfect. We need change. We always should be tweaking the system we're in, but we can't have immediate change, because that means the next lunatics who come along and win the election, they'll vastly change everything. You can't have those things. We should be planning for the long term.
But if 25% of the population now are immigrants, which I think those numbers are right. Those numbers might be actually understated. It may be more than that now, because I think on the basis we've got a lot of people coming to the country and a lot of British people leaving the country as well. The 25% may be higher.
Well, Manchester, Birmingham, London, white English people now are a minority in those three cities.
Yeah.
Manchester, Birmingham, and London.
I didn't know it was the case. I knew it was in London. I didn't know it was in
that white English.
White English.
White English. Yeah.
But why can't there be a revolution if there's 25% and growing?
Because they all hate each other.
Oh, right, because yes, and even in the Muslims, I know there's a difference between the Sunni Muslims and the Shiite Muslims. That there's lots of.
I've stopped fights between Pakistani kids and Bangladeshi kids who are third generation here and are fighting over the 1976 war.
Yeah.
And it's like, you used to couldn't even find countries on the map. Why are you fighting? So all these countries all hate each other. All these immigrants groups all hate each other.
So that works enough.
Yeah.
I guess.
Look at the riots last year in Leicester. Indians and Pakistanis over a cricket match in India, rioting and trying to kill each other in this country.
That does work in our favour.
Eritreans fighting with the Somalians in London with machetes.
Yeah.
They all hate each other.
That's a good point. That's comforting, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not that they're all fighting each other, but that means they can't unify potentially to have a revolution.
No.
If you like that video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell and comment. And if you like what I'm saying about running for Mayor of Greater Manchester, then stick around. Tell your family, tell your friends. The only way I'm going to have a chance of winning is a grassroots movement. So be part of that movement and hit that bell. Thanks.